Осторожно, двери закрываются. Следующая станция – выставочная.
The next station is Выставочная.
Posters had gone up and tickets were on sale at the Kabani Cultural Centre. Vitali's concert was fast approaching. He was going to fly in from Moscow for 1 week to give a solo recital of the grandest Russian music. The concert had been arranged by my friends Marta and Gabor. Marta was active in musical circles and Gabor worked at the cultural centre. They'd even managed to get a small grant to pay Vitali for his Oros Este, or Russian evening, culminating in the crashing chords and clanging bells of Musorgsky's pictures at an exhibition. Afterwards, I knew Vitali would have to go back to his main job. There didn't seem much hope of him coming to live with me in Budapest. In Moscow, he was an accompanist to opera singers. For me, it wasn't easy to be the accompanist's accompanist. Pianists are moody creatures. I was nervous on his behalf about his Budapest debut, and it was up to me to smooth the way for him. Vitali would play his concert on the Cultural Centre's grand piano, but until the night he wouldn't have access to it. Where would we find an instrument on which he could rehearse? A friend offered his piano, but when I went to inspect it, I found it was hopelessly out of tune. That wouldn't do. I was at a loss, rather anxious to be honest. But then, one gloomy afternoon, as I was walking through the yard to my building, I noticed a little shop had popped up. The ground floor premises were of the kind where you might expect to find a small Chinese or Vietnamese business selling pot noodles, sweets and drinks. But to my amazement, this Hungarian shop was selling electronic keyboards imported from Germany. I went in. And without thinking, I made a beeline for the most expensive keyboard in the centre of the store, a Yamaha, and I bought it. The salesmen were astonished. Before I could change my mind, they packed it up in a box the length of a coffin and carried it ceremoniously on their shoulders across the yard to my flat. The neighbours looked out of their windows. They must have thought it was time to hoist the black flag of mourning at Praterutza. Back at home, I was assailed by a wave of doubts. What had I done? What if Vitaly didn't like the Yamaha? What if he preferred a different make, one with different functions? It was a complicated purchase, and I had made it in complete ignorance, without consulting him. It was like buying your husband a red car and not checking with him about the horsepower or the fuel consumption. Scared by my own boldness, I hid the coffin under my bed and decided I would not risk upsetting Vitaly before his concert by giving him the keyboard straight away, but rather I would wait until after he had successfully played, and then I would let him have it as a Christmas present. A bit of a joke, like a jumper with a turkey on it. Vitaly arrived on a dark December evening, carrying a small rucksack and his concert outfit. With 2 days to go before the performance, he spared one to chill out with me, but then said he needed to start practicing. Lacking an instrument, he tapped and rattled his fingers on the kitchen table. "This is no good," he said finally. "I need a proper piano." At that, I screwed up my courage and dragged the coffin out from under the bed. "Well, you'd better have this then," I said. "It was going to be for Christmas, but you can have it now." Vitaly tore into the box like a child, and from the delight on his face, I understood I had got it right. The keyboard worked fine as a piano, but also enabled the player to conjure up all the instruments of the orchestra and synthesize any kind of music from classical to pop. Crucially, the keyboard had headphones, so Vitaly could play without fear of annoying the neighbours upstairs and having them pounding in frustration on our ceiling. He was able to practice freely and in the hours before the concert to warm up his fingers. Soon it would be curtain up. The adrenaline was running. It goes without saying that Vitaly's concert was fantastic. He came on stage looking smashing in a dark shirt with tiny points like stars. His performance was thrilling. He played like a demon, and the audience were in rapture. Only I knew what it cost him. Afterwards, he was as spent as a squeezed lemon. Next day, he just had the strength and time to walk with me to Gellert Hill, and we found a new path on the cliff above the Danube. Then, before we knew it, we were back at the airport, saying goodbye. I didn't know when I would see him again. I didn't expect much, but his parting words were, "Be strong, I won't postpone for long." With Vitaly gone, the Yamaha stood silently, gathering dust and taking up space in my small flat. I covered it with a bedsheet and put my amaryllis on it. The plant had a bud, just showing a bit of red.
Станция международная. Конечная. Поезд дальше не идет.
This train terminates here. Goodbye.